Let's do an example of methods in C#. So in this example, create a program named sales letter whose main method uses several write line calls to display a sales letter to prospective clients for a business of your choice. Display your contact information at least 3 times in the letter. The contact information should contain at least 3 lines. All right, so here is the contact information. So what we've done is that we have a class, and the class is called sales letter, and inside of the class we have 2 methods now. Before we just worked with the main method, but now what we've done is we've broken the main method up into 2 pieces, and the second piece is called display contact info. So how do we access this second piece of information? Well, let's first put our information in there. Looks like we want contact information and with at least 3 lines of data: landline, cell phone, and email. Okay, let's do that first. And instead of typing this out, how about if I go grab some lines of code and pop them in here. So here are 3 lines of code. I'll put the phone number, the cell number, and the email address. And so when I run this, I'll go ahead and run this. It runs, but did it actually run? It runs, but there is nothing to display, because in public main, this is the first place it's going to go to find code, there's nothing in there. There's nothing to run. So what I need to do is tell it that there's another method out there, because the main method has no idea what else is out there. I need to tell it that there's another method out there called display contact info. Now I need to put the parens behind that, semicolon, and that says that there's another method out there called display contact information. And so it will go look inside of the class and see if there's another method with this name. If it does, it will jump to that method, execute the code, and then automatically return. So when it calls this, it jumps to that method, and then when it comes back from the method, it will be right here. Okay, so now let's run it. And now when I run the method, it displays that information. Okay, so it looks like all they wanted was to display this 3 times. So at the very least, this is not really the spirit of the exercise, but I think that's all they wanted. They wanted to display this 3 times, but let's make this make a little more sense than this. So how about if we do this? I'm going to put in here, and by the way, when I run this now, when I run this, it displays the information 3 times. But let's have it make a little more sense. This is supposed to be a sales letter to a prospective client for your business. So let's have something like this. Let's have it say, have a right statement where we say, dear, okay, and this time let's have a right line statement that says, you know what, it's a lot faster to do this in Visual Studio, so I'm going to switch over to Visual Studio and do this. Hold on here. I'm going to copy this. Let's see. I'll just copy the two methods. Okay. And then I'll paste it over to Visual Studio. Okay. Okay. And so now okay, so let's do it this way. Let's have a client name. Okay. I don't need console on there because I'm using static system.console. Okay, and so once I display this, how about if I, at the very least, put a blank line in there. Okay, so let's see if this looks any better. Debug, start debugging. Yeah. And it just flashed on the screen, so maybe I should put a console read line at the end of this to pause the output. Okay, so when this runs, it calls the method, displays the information, comes back here, and in our right line method, let's have these say something. Okay. And Okay. Not very pretty, but maybe it will demonstrate the point. I'll run this, debug, start debugging. Okay, the formatting on this is horrible, but maybe you get the point. It displays the information 3 times. Here's the first time. Here's the second time. And then here's the third time. So let's make a change to this. Go ahead and end this. And let's do this. Instead of, what we're going to do is that instead of hard code the name, let's do this. Let's create a name, string data type, and let's call it name. And let's go ahead and assign a name to it. Now in real life, we'd probably be pulling this out of some sort of data file or database. And I'm going to pass this name to our method down there. And here's how I pass that. What I do is that inside of my parentheses, I'm going to say, pass the following information. And I have one piece of information, name. Now when I do that, it gives me the red squiggly lines, which means it didn't like it at all. And if I hover over that, it gives me something saying a no overload method for this. What that means is that down here, this does not match what I'm trying to call up here. And so I need to match when I'm calling it. If I'm saying I'm sending a piece of information, I have to be ready to receive a piece of information. In this case, a string data type, and let's call it, let's leave the same name. I'll call it name. Okay, so it's okay with that now. But these other two, they want the same information, so I'm going to pass name with those two. Okay. Okay, so down here, when I pass in name, what I can say is, put a placeholder here, and name. Okay. And put some blank lines in there just to separate that out. So now when I run this, it's really going to look the same. But the thing is that I have not hard coded the name in the method down here. I'm passing that parameter, that value down there. Now if I had more than one, I would need to change this header to match. So if I had another value like phone number, I would have to pass what would be string data type and the phone number. Okay, but I'm not doing that, so I'll just leave it that way. So we've created a method. We've ran the method 3 times. We've called the method 3 times. And in this case, we changed it so that we would add a piece of information that we're sending to that method. And then using that inside of the method. Okay, I'm going to leave it there.